right, hello everybody. Welcome to today's episode of Runarcana Academy. Today we are going to be talking about essence and behavior. And these are two very cool mechanical systems to encourage better roleplay in your game of Runarcana. So we're going to start by just kind of overviewing what the system looks like, and then we will talk about how you can use it and some suggestions and some of my thoughts on it. So we're going to start off with just reading this little introduction. So a character's essence is their most basic and internal characteristic. It reflects their nature and the starting point of that character in interacting with the world. Extremely linked to concept of the character, the essence is the very guide of moral rules that a character follows. So think of your essence as kind of like your alignment mixed with some personality traits and whatnot. So this is going to be kind of like the core driving force behind your narrative decision making. Not to say that you should see it as a restriction, but you should see it as a way to kind of remind yourself, I said I was going to play this kind of character. Am I doing that? And if your essence evolves as your character does, I would say that that makes sense. We don't like characters that stay the same the entire time. You wouldn't want a character in a TV show to be a flat character that has the same personality traits for 10 seasons. I guess some of them do, and a lot of favorites that come to mind. I think Dr. House is a good example. But even then, some kind of character growth is considered a good thing narratively. So a character's behavior does not always reflect their essence. Yet a character who behaves in a way that directly conflicts with their essence is in constant battle within themselves, with the result of the struggle affecting the character's actions. So if my essence says that I am, to use one of their examples, an architect. The architect wants to build something truly lasting, and I decide that I'm going to do a bunch of actions that are very self-destructive or working in conflict with that. That is going to make a struggle for me as the character. So some examples that are provided in the wiki, some examples of context of creating a character's essence and behavior. The chameleon, I really like. Adapting to any situation is the key and secret to everything. So if you decide you're going to play your character like a chameleon and you have a hard time at one point, going into a social situation because you have to pretend to be someone else, that would be in conflict with your essence. But if you are a chameleon and you go into, a Trifarian war council meeting and you are able to talk about how much you want to destroy Demacia, but then you go to a social gathering in a Kinku temple in Ionia and you are talking about how important it is to have inner peace, I would say that those are both ways that you could adapt to a situation and be like a chameleon. Authoritarian, another example. So your way is the right one as long as others understand that. You tell your group what to do. You tell other NPCs what to do. You tell everyone what's going on, your way or the highway. The rebel, no one orders you around and you make your own rules. Very Jinx coded. The idea that if you have someone in your party that is telling you, hey guys, this is the decision we're going to make, you don't listen to that. Now, this is one where you could see, and I think authoritarian as well, a slippery slope with making sure that you need to balance your role-playing and your essence with what's fun. So if you want to play a very authoritarian character, and you feel that your way is the right one as long as others understand that, that can be fun, but it can also be challenging if you have people in your group that maybe aren't super comfortable speaking up already, and now you are playing a character that shuts down other people. Finding a way to make sure that your party is feeling involved and active and narratively engaged, I think is super duper important. Similarly with Rebel, no one orders you around, you make your own rules. But if you're always going against what the party wants to do, is that really fun? It might be fun for you, but is it fun for them? If your game master is planning around a party of 4 people navigating a dungeon, and one of those 4 people is constantly sabotaging the other 3, well, then you might notice that your dungeon gets a lot harder. Another example, visionary. I like this one a lot. Visionary. It's all part of something much bigger that is still in progress. I think that this makes a lot of sense for an acolyte, maybe, that is very devout to their god. It could be for a victor type where it's all about the glorious evolution, a number of different things. So the idea behind your essence is tying the way that you want to play your character to a word or two. And then your behavior is thinking about ways that you can manifest that. What is that really going to look like? So each of these words can have different interpretations. For this reason, it is important that the essence and behavior of a character are always discussed with the master, meaning the game master, so that they understand the motivations of this character and understand when an action is in accordance with the essence or when this action is a shortcut that the character uses in a difficult situation. Because even someone who is very, good, they want to follow the rules, sometimes they get put in a situation that might be difficult for them, but they decide they have to bend the rules in order to accomplish a task. So let's talk about adaptability, because adaptability is really important when you're role-playing. You, as I mentioned earlier, you are not a static character. You evolve, you grow. So how important is faith in their divinity to behavior? How will they behave if they need to deny their faith in order to survive? Will you succumb to it, causing damage to your essence, or will you deny it in words having no meaning for you as long as you remain, your belief can survive? Who knows? So it's all about the ability to adapt. Not all behaviors hold true for a character. Some essences may excel at adapting and adjusting to situations, like that chameleon one we looked at earlier, while others may struggle to do so. While a more volatile essence may adapt more easily, that means that the essence will rarely result in prowess points. Now, prowess points are a mechanic that encourage roleplay consistency that we're going to look at momentarily. So before we get to that resource of prowess, let's look at conflict and transformation. So a character's essence is a very important starting point for them to begin their adventure. Being true to their essence can be very important and lead to great challenges, but it is important to remember that characters are not fixed and unchanging concept. In many cases, a player may create a character with a conflicted essence, such as a former assassin seeking redemption by swearing to never take another life. I just finished a campaign where we were playing the Avatar Legends campaign, system, and I was playing a character where their whole playbook was being a former assassin. And after I was asked to kill a group of small children, I decided that I did not want to be a loyal assassin anymore. And I had a bunch of conflict in the way that I played my character because I had this internal conflict as the character. The character's mind wasn't sure where it wanted to go, which meant that me as the player had that challenge as well. Another example I give is a soldier who was loyal to their army and believed in its ideals until they realized that those ideals were nothing more than a way to manipulate him into carrying out the most terrible acts. And that is exactly what my assassin experienced as well. So a character's path can be exactly the discovery of their true essence, with their behavior appearing to be the essence, while on the journey of self-discovery, the character understands their essence and can change their behavior. So things are going to evolve, and that makes sense. So at the start of your campaign, you may be bon vivant. Life is there to be lived in the best possible way. And then after some kind of terrible tragedy, maybe you lost your party. For example, in our campaign, Kefri joined our adventuring group a year or two into the campaign. They had a former adventuring party that died, and maybe they were previously very bon vivant with the living life to the fullest, but now, to some extent, at least around the void, they are now very cautious. The how to achieve is as important as the achievement itself. They want to make sure that the party's not going to die. That would be an example of some of that conflict and seeing transformation, which makes sense and I think is super duper important. So the thing that makes this really mechanical and not just, hey, think about how you want to play your character. So your essence is something that your game master is going to write down and keep track of because they want to encourage you to do it. Now, prowess is kind of like inspiration, except inspiration is just, you did good roleplay, you did a cool thing, here's advantage on a die once. Prowess is very different. It is a whole resource system for you as the player to utilize to make your storytelling better, help you be more successful. So prowess points are a way of encouraging characters to follow their essence, making them characters with behavior consistent with their ideas and concepts, with them being able to change during a story, but not being flexible to the point that a character is just a collection of numbers. So the idea being, I have this essence, and sometimes it'll be very easy for me to navigate it. And, if we're fighting against the big evil guy and I'm a very good person, that's very easy. But maybe the good person is actually doing something a little bit corrupt, but overall it's for a good cause. Now I have some conflict. So prowess is where your game master can reward you if you have done a certain combination of things. So all characters lose and receive 1 prowess upon successfully completing a long rest, meaning that these points earned daily do not accumulate. So at the start of your day, all of your old ones go away and you get 1. So everybody starts with a single prowess point. The maximum number of prowess points you can have is your proficiency bonus. So at the start of your campaign, it's 2, unless you started at a higher level, obviously, going all the way up. But let's say most of your adventuring is probably going to happen between levels like 4 and 10 for a lot of us. So let's say we're used to having a cap of 4 or 5 prowess points. Now, receiving prowess points. Prowess points are earned by characters who are true to their essence, who achieve achievements by following these precepts, even in the face of adversity. When a character is true to their essence in their actions, they can receive prowess point reward based on those achievements. So I'm going to give a narrative example that comes up a lot in my campaign. Rolneon is a demon, and he's evil. He is objectively evil. He wants to be a champion, so he's working with the party because it fits his ultimate goal of becoming a champion to give himself more access to power. Piper is a former devout follower of Soraka, and Kefri is a devout follower of Kindred, and Wolf and Lamb specifically. Both of those characters have a real issue with a murder hobo, assassin, wraith, demon guy. So that creates some conflict. It is in the party's best interest for Rolneon to not go on a murder spree. So when Rolneon doesn't go on a murder spree, one could grant him prowess points. But also, if we are doing an adventure and activity where we are leaning into Rolneon's, we'll say, bloodthirstiness, bloodlust, and the party has to go kill a bunch of people for one reason or another, the other 2 players, Piper and Kefri, combating that, pushing back on that, doing it but reluctantly, but really leaning into it, that could be an example of something that would grant them prowess points. So for 1 point, you achieve something by being true to your essence in a common situation. Oh, congratulations, you are the architect and you helped, quite literally, the design of this structure and the people's government that is going to live within it. Awesome. Fairly common situation. That's awesome. Not that common to help create a government, but in a sense that there's no real obstacle that you have to face in order to show that you are still being that architect essence. Now, for 2 points, you achieve something by being true to your essence in an unfavorable situation. So this could look like it's incredibly difficult. Maybe all of the odds are stacked against your essence. Let's look at an example essence. Fanatic, your cause is the most important thing in your life and perhaps the most thing in general, I would assume is where that's going. So let's say that you're a fanatic, going back down to our prompt of something being true to your essence in an unfavorable situation. You, in a situation where you are absolutely in love with Caitlin and she is the sheriff of Piltover and you really, really want to work and support her, but you are at an anti-Caitlin rally and everyone's pressuring you to talk bad about Caitlin and do all these things, and you say, no, this is unfavorable, you are threatening violence against me, but I will stand by my reverence towards this champion. Well, congratulations. That was really difficult. There are active threats against you. We are going to give you 2 prowess points. And then lastly, for 3 points, being able to transform an adverse situation by being true to your essence. So if we were to take that last situation where we have a person like Caleb in our campaign, a young Iceborn boy who is a marksman. He is a follower of Caitlyn. She has mentored him in sniping. She taught him all about gunplay. He's gotten a bunch of boons and bonuses to his character because of the time that he has spent studying under Caitlyn. Now imagine him traveling through Zaun, and everybody's really anti-Caitlyn. They're really angry with Caitlyn for the way that she, manages the police, whatever that might be. 2 points would be him sticking to his guns, no pun intended, and overcoming something. 3 points would be taking the time to persuade that anti-Caitlyn group, hey, yeah, things are rough, but look at what she has accomplished. Look at what she has taught me. She is clearly not this evil, terrible person that you have described. Hear me out. And then turning that angry mob into a favorable mob, or at the very least neutral, I would say would be worth 3 points. So spending a prowess point does not require an action, it just happens. Anytime a character can act, whether an action, reaction, bonus action. Spending must always be declared before the roll is made and can only be done once per round except in extreme cases. So there's some flexibility here for you game masters. So spending prowess points. Below are some ways to spend prowess points. Now it's important to clarify these are just examples and it's ultimately up to the game master's decision. So below are some ways. 1 point to receive a +1 modifier on a roll. So if I did, a little bit of good role play, I've got that 1. Well, I really need to persuade this angry mob that Caitlyn's not evil, and there are I hate Caitlyn posters. I would like to, Mr. GM, I would like to use one of my prowess points to give myself a +1 modifier. Cool. But maybe I've got 2 prowess points, and because I've got those 2, I've done a little more role play. I can spend the 2 to automatically roll a 20 on a non-combat roll, meaning I'm going to be able to do that persuasion automatically. And your game master can decide that that might be too much. They might just say +5 or +7 or something like that. And then 3 points for receiving advantage on a roll. And that the important distinction here is 2 points is a 20 on a non-combat roll, which is generally a little bit lower in severity for your average day of adventuring. And then we also have for 1 and 3, those are being any kind of roll. Each of the ways to consume these prowess points is at the GM's discretion. For example, the GM can deny an advantage or a modifier from being added to a roll for an act that goes against the character's essence. I think that's a great example. If someone who is, this little pillar of truth and honesty and is just the most trustworthy little scout, and they say, I want to go up and I want to try to steal from the sausage vendor, and I want to receive advantage by spending my 3 prowess points. No, you can. That's up to the GM. But if you're a GM who wants to encourage people, you gave them these points as a reward for following these essence. Do you want them to spend it to break it? I think that's up to you. I think that could be narratively interesting. I think it could be narratively challenging. But in either case, you have the options. So there are some other examples that I have seen before, such as removing a condition would be an example of one. Spending prowess points to modify your rolls, removing a condition, gaining some kind of knowledge about something, a number of options. So overall, I think that this is a very nice, fairly simple system. It's not terribly complicated, and it encourages good roleplay, consistent roleplay with opportunity for growth. So just to recap, your essence is essentially your nature at the start of your adventuring career. What kind of a person are you? What are a couple of core values that you hold that you can push yourself to experience and act in accordance with it? And when you want to change it because you have grown, that's narratively interesting. When you are in conflict with your essence, that's narratively interesting. In either of those cases, your game master might decide to grant you some prowess points, which you get only from your game master, +1 for the start of your day. You can have up to your proficiency bonus in prowess points, and you can spend them on a couple of different things that your game master can also add examples, but the examples given are all related to modifying rolls. And the more true to your essence you are, and the more severe of the achievement, those are the kinds of things that are going to grant you additional prowess points. And I think that that's a really, really cool system. So check it out. And even if you're not playing Runarcana, you could use a system like this in your game of whatever other system just to test it out. A lot of games have a lot of really good roleplay encouraging systems. I like this one, and I think when I start my next Runarcana campaign, I am absolutely going to use it. Thank you so much. I hope you all had a wonderful time. I learned a lot about this system, and I hope you did too. And please tell someone you love them, because I promise you they do not hear it enough, and neither do you. Peace.